Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Hyped4's YouTube channel. This is Hakan from Hyped4 and today we're gonna be reviewing Far Cry Primal. So Far Cry Primal just recently came out on February 23, 2016 on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They also just released a PC version on March 1st, developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft themselves. The Far Cry Primal actually offers a radical change of atmosphere comparing to the previous games, and this time the game takes us back to the Stone Age, so over 10,000 years back in time. There are no vehicles or firearms, and basically they changed all the stuff from the previous game with like spears, bows, clubs, and yet the formula remains the same. And if you played any of the previous installments, everything will be very familiar, like the stealth mechanics or the skill system. In order to improve your inventory or gaining more skill points by doing like the main missions and side missions. So that formula is same, but other than that, different parts to the game. So Far Cry Primal is an action game and a very entertaining one. The gameplay works perfectly with lots of things to do and with a fantastic atmosphere filled with scenarios and side missions that is fun to explore, but the formula already showed some signs of exhaustion since Far Cry 4 that the series feels like repeating itself, and the change of atmosphere is not able to conceal that repetitiveness. It is still more of the same. Depending on how much you like the action-adventure open world genre and Far Cry franchise, and especially you will find yourself in a very attractive setting in Far Cry Primal, then this is a highly recommended game for you and an entertaining trip from beginning to the end. There are several things of this franchise that needs to be reviewed, such as story and characters do not engage and perfunctory.
Ma ul udams winja waija waika. Hawaija salwai.
Talk about the story in Far Cry Primal. You played as Takar, a hunter who's the only survivor of an unfortunate hunting party, was forced to survive alone and form his own tribe in the wilderness of Oros, the beautiful scenery where the adventure unfolds. There you will meet allied characters, the typical villains, and some other bizarre or comical personalities, but the story never ceases to be anecdotal. Previous games in the series always had an interesting plot premise which never fully exploded, and history is just repeating itself in Far Cry Primal. Imagine here that neither the premise is strong enough. We also understand that it wasn't easy to solve the issue considering the setting of Primal. Well, the good thing about this is that the absence of an argument that pushes the events of the adventure, so you have great freedom to meet the objectives and the missions in the order you want. So you basically build your own story. There are a number of storylines featuring several characters who are providing us new skills and improvements, and this will be your main goal throughout the game, becoming increasingly stronger, more skillful, and have better weapons, so grow the village and defeat the enemy tribes. The wildest part of previous installments in Far Cry were animals and detailed natural environments. In Primal, these are the backbone of the adventure, and from the beginning of the game to survive you have to hunt and gather plants, minerals, so you can craft arrows, clubs, spears. These are the type of weapons. Our deep relationship with nature, where we find one of the biggest new addition in this version, to tame animals. Once we have unlocked this power enough to throw a bait, wait for an animal to come to eat, approach slowly, keep a button pressed to tame the animal, having a companion always available to protect you for the rest of the game. Wild dogs, lions, tigers, jaguars, bears, and even honey badgers, each with its own characteristic of strength, speed, and stealth, along with any special skills such as marking enemies or bring objects to you. We can give simple commands to these animals as they are directed to a position, or you can have them attack to a particular enemy, and later even we can unlock the potential to mount on them. Like instead of like riding vehicles, in this game you can ride animals, as in the case of like bears and tigers or saber-tooth. So you can move more quickly throughout the wide map or even use them as a weapon of war, similar to what happened with the elephants in Far Cry 4. Most of the game mechanics from previous Far Cry were carried over to Primal and implemented in a different fashion, which is sometimes good and others somewhat forced, as if Primal was a mod of previous installments instead of Primal has its own personality. Valuable binoculars or camera from the previous games which served us to observe camps before infiltrating or to mark enemies. In Primal, you will have an owl. Yep, you got it, like the one that Harry Potter has. which you can fly around the stage, mark the targets, and even drop bombs from the sky. Something that may sound illogical, but they implemented it so well that it works amazingly. Well, again, some player may miss the elements of the previous installments, but again, Ubisoft applied these new gameplay mechanics into a setting with personality, so definitely worth trying. Talking of the missing elements in this version of Far Cry is the lack of firearms, which surprisingly has been solved perfect. Far Cry Primal introduces different types of bows, clubs, and spears fulfill its function well. All weapons are well controlled, they're fun, and also the latter two can be used both short and long distance, throwing them. A signature mechanic of the Far Cry series that remains the same is to correctly handle situations with direct action or stealth. And even animals that accompany us adapt the situation, sneak and crouch if we do too. If in previous Far Cry games animals gave us such hardship and caused unpredictable situations, imagine here with the world full of wildlife where any moment a tiger or a bear can attack you. And only way you can defend yourself is gonna be with a bow or a club. This is not a pure survival game, but has details related, such as having to be constantly looking for resources and crafting objects. It has also details that we liked a lot, like when the night falls, your surroundings become more and more dangerous, with more predators hovering over the stage and the need for a fire to see well in the dark. Or if you're on the north side of the map, a cold meter appears, so you need to survive freezing cold and keep warm, whether basking in fires or creating better clothes. It is an action adventure with a very good ideas, but none of them have dared to take them to the end. Never stop being a game accessible to all audiences. As you can imagine, still an open world game from Ubisoft that have tons of content in the form of primary and secondary missions. Rescue, hunting, assaults, camps, caves, we have to explore all collectible types, a lot of skills to improve and unlock. And ultimately a game, if you're more or less to the point, you can last about 15 to 20 hours, but if you want to get all the challenges done, it will take up you to 40 hours. As mentioned at the beginning, that Ubisoft has opted for the amount of content rather than to offer any surprising missions, and reached the point we have not been able to differentiate some primary missions from the secondary. It has become a fashion in the genre where adventure put barriers so that you cannot continue the main story before you have to unlock certain skills or obtain certain equipment in order to progress further. Basically, this is a game where you need to be ever stronger, grow your village, and defeat the rival tribes. But this way you don't expect big twists or surprises throughout the storyline. Well, let's talk about the graphics and the sound. So Far Cry Primal looks great and moves better at 30 frames per second, totally stable, unhesitatingly, even in more chaotic situations. The graphic engine is the same as for the Far Cry 4, which in fact was an evolution when they used it back in Far Cry 3, so do not expect any visual improvements. Graphics may seem somewhat dated with some poor textures and graphics effects being modest along with unsophisticated lighting. Yet the world of Oros is downright impressive in its size and level of detail, offering visuals of great beauty. We want to highlight the good animations of animals much more carefully than in previous Far Cries. Also, the fire element in its interaction with the environment, but also the historical context of fire becomes more and more important in this type of setting. The sound effects are also top notch, with very impressive effects and sort to sense the presence of a predator around, and a very brave decision that the characters speak a primitive language, by the way, which was created by Ubisoft called the Wenja. Certainly enhances the atmosphere. Background music is subtle without attracting attention, unless at some point if there's a confrontation with a boss, a vocal theme starts to play and it fits the settings perfectly. Primal is a great game and offer a great open world action game. Great fun and a lot of quality in all sections. Perhaps it would have been a good opportunity to offer a game with more personality rather than a Far Cry with a change of atmosphere, but we assume that these changes will come in the next installment. Far Cry Primal, despite being so different in appearance compared to the previous episodes, deep down it feels very similar, and the formula is beginning to get old and needs considerable changes if it doesn't want to repeat the same mistakes as the Assassin's Creed series. In any case, if you're attracted to its atmosphere and your body is ready for a great action game that's entertaining with plenty to do in an open world filled with dangers, Primal is certainly a high recommended option and a must buy for the fans of the series. So there you go guys, review of Far Cry Primal. So hopefully this will give you an idea if you wanna rent the game, if you wanna buy it, or you know, wait for a discount in the long run and then you can maybe purchase it sometime later. But definitely, if you like this video, please give us a subscribe. We are gonna be doing a giveaway of the Division from Ubisoft. There are some instructions down below, so check information section and you can win yourself Division platform of your choice. Thanks so much for tuning in. In the next video, I'll see you guys, and sayonara from Hyped4 family. Take care, guys. Bye bye.